books that we have. I wanted you to take a look at it. I have 5 of these, and there's 100 pages in each one. Book number 5 has 150 pages, so I have 550 pages of documentation on the Martin family. And I'll keep a copy around here. Merlin is going to keep a copy. That's Merlin Tolentino will keep a copy. And then she's going to make an extra copy and run it through, put it in the genealogy room in the Uniontown library. There's a lot of interesting facts here if you're interested in genealogy at all. An awful lot of stuff that you'll find interesting. Like Carl Martin, who was old Billy Martin's oldest son, was in the Civil War and survived clear through and including the Battle of Gettysburg. That's what we were always told as we were growing up. But then he later died of typhoid fever complicated by pneumonia and was buried somewhere in Virginia. That's what we were always told. And with old Tim Jobs from Dunbar here was with Cal when he died. And he was going to take old Billy to the gravesite, but that never materialized. But in researching all this, found that Cal Martin was in the 116th Infantry Regiment, volunteers. It was called the Irish Regiment. And he wasn't near the Battle of Gettysburg. They were in a lot of those big battles and spearheaded it because there were some mean, wild, vicious people that they used them to spearhead. But nearly all of them, I can't remember the numbers now, but there weren't very many of them survived all that regiment. They didn't go into any action until 1864. But the 116th Volunteer Pennsylvania Regiment, the Irish Regiment, spearheaded by Cole Harbor and Tatum and the Wilderness. There's 3 or 4 others I can't recall right offhand. But I'll go into our own family here a little bit. Old Jim O. Martin, my grandfather, was born in 1849, died in 1923. In 1866, he married Mary Cunningham, to which marriage was born 2 children, Nancy and James Jr. That would have been Jim O. Jr., by which he was known, had built a home about 250 yards north of Old Billy's home, where he lived with his family. However, while building a fire, a coal oil exploded, setting everything on fire. Jim O. was able to save himself and his daughter, Nancy, and Nan, but his wife and James Jr. perished in the flames, and this happened in 1873. Sometime later, Jim O. journeyed to southern Ohio to the Portsmouth, Ironton area, and finally settled in Ironton. He probably went there because old Billy, his father, had been in southern Kentucky and Ironton working in furnaces in his younger years. And here, somehow or another, Jim O. met Caroline Kyle, whom he married. She was born and grew up in Louisville, Ohio, some 20 or 30 miles north of Ironton. Anyhow, to this marriage were born 11 children. That was Uncle Emery, Aunt Daisy, Uncle Bill, Aunt Deb, Jesse Marshall, Uncle Ross, who was Alexander Rasco, Frank Luther, my father, Minerva, Aunt Minnie, Ella Marie, and Alice May, who were twins, and Robert Raymond, who died in 1917 at age 20 of burst appendix. Carolyn, there's something interesting. Carolyn Kyle's father was a half-breed Delaware Indian. seems the Powell family of Philadelphia had a Delaware Indian working for them. And I question that because in reading about history and finding how they found that they captured Indians and sold them into slavery. And if they could go out and get themselves an Indian and force them to work, why then they had their own slaves. So the girl was probably a slave and an Indian girl. Didn't work for wages at all, just for the keep. And just because the Powell family is related to me, is no reason I need to think that they're any different or any different than the rest of the populace at that time. But anyhow, one of the Powell boys impregnated this Indian girl, and the Powell family adopted the child, and they called William the Younger. When he grew up and he moved west from the Philadelphia area, settling in southern Ohio. And there he's made Grandma Martin 1/4 Delaware, her offspring are 1/8 Delaware, and their offspring, that includes me, is 1/16 Delaware. And Grandma's physical makeup was exactly the picture of a full-fledged Indian squaw, with long, straight black hair, slightly arched Roman nose, and high cheekbones. These features were quite prevalent in some of her children, particularly some of our uncles. And we always thought that we may have been connected with Indians, but Uncle Em finally told us that we were, but we were connected with a small clan, tribe of Indians near Wellsburg, West Virginia. And I can't remember that tribe name now, but anyhow, Lauren Guerre, our cousin, the first cousin, Lauren Guerre, and dug this information up in the courthouse with the family history, the Powell family history, while I was checking on the Powell family history in Philadelphia. So one time I said to Aunt Alice, do you realize we're got a lot of Indian blood in us? And she says, yes, but Ralph, you don't need to tell everybody. Like as if they were ashamed of it. And I guess maybe they were, because the Indians had a tremendous reputation, but what they failed to realize is the reason the Indians had a reputation for all their killings and tortures and depredations was because the white man agitated them. The white man came here and took away and destroyed everything the Indian had. So if the Indians didn't retaliate, what kind of people would they be? So, but anyhow, Jim O and Grandma lived in Ironton, Ohio for several years, and Uncle Em, Aunt Daisy, and Uncle Bill were born in Ironton. Sometime later, Jim O, Martin family moved back to Dunbar, traveling riverboats up the Ohio River to Pittsburgh, and then up the Monongahela River to Brownsville, bringing most of their belongings with them. They then traveled by wagon from Brownsville to Dunbar. And when they got here, they lived with Old Billy and Jezebel. While Grandpa was in Ohio, his mother died. That was Minnie Beeson. And Old Billy married one of the McDowell women. Well, two families living under one roof, and they got to be bitter enemies. So Grandpa called the McDowell woman, old Billy's second wife, called her Old Jezebel. That's from the physical standings. And if you were familiar with Jezebel, you both know what she was like. So anyhow, in order to get started he built the smokehouse first, and they lived in the smokehouse until he got the house finished. The house, while he was framing it, bad windstorm came up before he got the siding on. Blew the frame over, and they took horses and tried to straighten it, but they didn't get it totally plumb. And if you look at the house today, Uncle Em and Uncle Bill showed this to me. It's out of plumb. It would be probably 4 inches out of plumb at plumb above the plumb. That is an interesting thing if you're familiar with the surroundings and all. Jim O was later on, Grandpa created a garden over the area in which his first home stood, where his first wife and one child were born to death. Jim O was a wiry, slight-built man with a generally bad temper, very determined and forceful, very honest, dependable, and exceptionally independent, not beholden to any man, right? I never heard of him being involved in many actual fisticuffs. However, he was in many verbal, he was in many verbal rounds, particularly with people trespassing on his property. I used to hear he'd say, cock his hat, stare at him a little bit, and then he'd start hollering. And this used to be embarrassing to his children as they grew up. People would take stones off the land they intended to kill and build fences with stone fences with them. And the hunters would come along and chase rabbits in the stone fence and tear the fence all to pieces to get the rabbits off. But Grandpa earned the greater part of his living for his family as a forest protector for the Dunbar Furnace Company. They had 100 acres of ground there in the Dunbar Mountains. And it was his duties rather, to walk through and around it to make sure that it was going to be encroached upon by timber cutters. And for this, he was paid $15 a month to supplement his income. He and his son raised crops on the property, and of course raised cattle, hogs, chickens, and they would supply milk, butter, and eggs to the diet. Meat was in there also. Here's an interesting turn of events. After years of being brothers-in-law, Bill Hennessy had married Jim O's sister, Anna Elizabeth Martin. His sister, they called her Annalise Hennessy. Bill Hennessy and Jim O were once again brothers-in-law when Bill Hennessy married Mary Pyle, Grandma Martin's sister. Jim O's wife was Carolyn Pyle. The marriage of William Hennessy and Mary Pyle were born DeSales Hennessy, Morris Hennessy, and Elizabeth Hennessy, whom we all knew as Bessie. It seemed that young Bill Hennessy, old Bill's eldest son by Annalise, brought Mary Pyle to Dunbar to look at Bill high with the intention of matrimony, but somehow old Bill, his father, ended up marrying her. How that ever happened, I can't recall. I'll never know, but perhaps that's why young Bill and his brother Frank went way out west to Iowa and lived there the rest of their life. Boy, some of the things that went on back there. Okay, Frank L. Martin, my father, was born November 13th, 1892 and died January 28th, 1972. He married our mother, Emma Llewellyn Beck, on May 14th, 1914 in Lucasville, Ohio, where she was born and raised. She was the daughter of David Beck and Sarah Mull. And Mom was born June 13th, 1888, and she died February 22nd, 1970. That is about that on my immediate family. Now, Uncle Emery, this is our aunts and uncles. Uncle Emery Martin was born 1879, August 5th. I don't have it written down here, but I always remember Uncle Emery's birthday, August 5th, 1879, and he died January something, 1958. He married Frances Fanning Stickle from the Hopwood area. She died in 1931 and 32. They had no children. Aunt Daisy married John Azariah Lehman, Uncle Az. He was from Dunbar. The children were Nellie. She married Emmett McClintock, Evelyn. That's Everett. She married Paul O'Sullivan, the son of George O'Sullivan, and Ida Martin. That made them second cousins. Their children was Emerson and Ray. Emerson was killed in World War II, and his remains are in the cemetery of the Pacific, located in the Punch Bowl in Honolulu. Now, I've been there and checked his grave out and pictures of it. Ray was killed in a motorcycle died of cancer, thus leaving Ella completely alone. Gwendolyn Lehman married George Hardy, had several children. Gwendolyn died of heart failure on January 15, 1988. Margaret Lehman, that's Maggie, married Hiram Metz, and their children were Donald, Elaine, married Dick Straw, Shirley, who married Lee Ainsley, and Lois. I don't know who she married. Jim Lehman married a woman from Newcastle area, and I don't know about their children or anything. But anyhow, he died when he was about 62 or 63. Frances Lehman married Charles Hannon from Dunbar and lived in California close to Audrey Gare Lenoff. And I've been to that town, Pomona, that's it. Pomona, California. Esther Lehman married Frank Cooper of Dunbar. Frank died in his maturity young. They had 5 or 6 children. Milton Warren Lehman married a woman from Scottsdale, and they had several children. Warren lives on Snuff Hill in Dunbar near the old home place. Caroline Lehman, that's Carrie, married a man by the name of Viper, and I don't know what will happen to her after that. And Ellen married Harry Garrett. They had Audrey, who married Irvin Lenoff, who immigrated from Germany with his parents after World War I and lived in the New York area. Irvin retired in Riverside, California. He was a Adventist minister and died shortly thereafter of infection from a brain tumor operation. They had 2 children. Lauren Garrett married Miriam, and I don't know, I used to know her name, and I can't remember it now, and had several children. Lauren was overseas in World War II for a long time, and he died of a form of cancer in 1985. Lynn Garrett is a doctor, and he lives in Wasco, California. He's married to a woman by the name of Thetis, whose roots are in Washington State. They have 3 adopted children, one of whom is a doctor in Upper New York State. Robert Allen Garrett, he always had his name of Allen Robert, but it's not. It's Rag. Robert Allen Garrett is also a doctor residing in Columbia, Maryland. He's offices in Silver Springs, and Allen married Jackie Taylor of Charleston, West Virginia. And they have 3 girls, I think. Yeah, 3 girls. And B. Thane Garrett, that's Bruce Thane Garrett, married Marlene from Point Pleasant, West Virginia. And Bruce is a school teacher, and they have 5 children. Uncle Jesse Marshall married Sylvia Leapline of Dunbar, and they had 3 children. Sylvia, Lillian, and Jesse Jr., we always knew as Jim. Sylvia married Buzz Miller. They had a number of children. Lillian married Fred Lowry Jr. They had 6 or 7 kids. And Jesse Jr., Jim, married Jean Dell, of Mount Brady. They had 10 children. You imagine that. William B. Martin, Uncle Bill, never married. Now, people always thought that his name was Vincent, William Vincent, but it's not. It's William Vincent, V-I-N-T-O-N. Uncle Ross, Alexander Roscoe, married Gertrude from the eastern part of the state. They had 3 children and lived in Weatherly, Pennsylvania, in Carbon County. Frank L. Martin married Emily L. Beck in Lucasville, Ohio on May 14, 1914. They had 5 children. Frank, who died in 1935 from complications of polio. Rita, who married Herman Carrier of Dunbar. They have no children. Stanley Gifford, who died at 6 months of pneumonia. Ralph H. Martin, who married, that's me, who married Elfrieda Elfie Fiedler of Vienna, Austria. They have 2 children. Frank Kurt was a naval officer, the lieutenant commander at this time. And this is the 23rd of July, 1989. They have 1 child, Casey, at this time, Casey Victoria. Martina Elfrieda, that's our daughter, she married Joe Enderley of Connellsville. His father is Herman Enderley, and who hails from North Dakota. Joe's mother was Martha Offenberg, who was the granddaughter of Garfield Skinner, who served with my Uncle Emery in the Spanish-American War during the Philippine Insurrection. Sherman Martin, my brother, never married. Minerva Aunt Minnie married Roger Mitz of the Scottsdale area. They had 4 children. Roger Martin Mitz was a doctor. Russell was also a doctor. Caroline Farley, who married a doctor by the name of William. And Murray Gordon, who was also a doctor. Murray happened to be a twin cousin of mine. Ralph H. Martin and Murray Mitz were born on July 15, 1926, about 1 hour apart. We lived about a quarter of a mile apart until 1935, and all the Mitz family now live in California. Ann Alice May, Aunt Alice, married Clarence Robinson in Erie, Pennsylvania. They had 3 children, Rita Caroline Garfield, who was a school teacher and freelance writer living in Carpinteria, California, and Norbert Robinson, who lives in Erie, Pennsylvania, and Clovis Lee Everett Courtney of Sherman, New York. Aunt Alice and Uncle Clarence were both school teachers in the Seventh-day Adventist school system. Aunt Alice was an identical twin of her sister Ella. She died June 4th, 1985 in Boulderville, California, and is buried in Mount Auburn Cemetery in Dunbar next to her father and mother. She was born March 29, 1902. Aunt Ella Marie married Charles French of Guyana, Ohio. They had 5 children. 1 girl died young. The others, Ruth Cleveland, Ruth Cleveland. Can't remember who she married. Not talked to her.